All right, let's talk a little bit about prime and composite numbers. Now, you might have been doing your factor booklets if we've been doing those in class, or you may have been doing some factoring of some numbers, and you may have come across some numbers that have lots of factors, and you may have come across some numbers that only have 2 factors. So we've got a name for those. All right, well, first of all, prime numbers are numbers that have only 2 factors. It would be 1 and that number. So a perfect classic example of that is 3. Because you can only multiply 1 times 3 to get 3, so its only factors are 1 and 3. So that's a prime number. 2 is also a prime number because only 1 times 2 is 2, so its only factors are 1 and 2. So it's a prime number. It only has 1 in itself as a factor. And here's a fact that you might not know. 2 is the only prime number that's also even. Any other even number will have 2 as a factor, and so therefore it can't be a prime number. So 2 is the only prime number that is even. And you might get to saying, well, then that must mean that all odd numbers are prime. Well, you might think that because as you go through the number system, 3 is prime, and then you come to 5 and it's prime, and 7 is prime, and then you might say, well, 9 has to be prime, but you would be wrong because 9 is not a prime number. That's a mistake that lots of people make, thinking that, oh, it must be odd numbers that are prime, but not all odd numbers are prime. 9 being a great example of that, because 1 times 9 is 9, and 3 times 3 is 9. So 9 actually has 3 factors as 1, 3, and 9 as factors, which brings us to our second definition, which is a composite number. And a composite number is any number that has 3 or more factors. So 9 is definitely a composite number because it has 3 factors. And those numbers that you've done that have lots of factors, like 48 has lots of factors, it's definitely a composite number because it definitely has 3 or more. It has more than 3, but it has 3 or more, so it's a composite number. So not all odd numbers are prime. As a matter of fact, an overwhelming majority of the odd numbers that you see out there will not be prime. They will be composite. And 2 is the only even prime number. And so this might leave you a question. Well, what about 1? The only way you can get 1 is to do 1 times 1, and so it's only got 1 factor. 1. That's it. So it can't be composite because it only has 1 factor, and that's not 3 or more. And it can't be prime because it doesn't have 2 factors. It's only got 1 factor. Well, that's right. 1 is the only number that is not prime and not composite. It's neither one. It's not one or the other, it's neither one. So that might help you going through. So there's just a little bit right there on prime and composite.